Hey guys, what's up? It's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and hit the bell notification so that way you can be made aware of every time I upload a video. I'm going to start doing a lot more just pre-recorded videos like this because I find that I can stay focused better and get the information out that I'm trying to get across to you guys just a little bit more smoother for me. So I want to talk to you guys about step 1 today, and I have several different books that I'm going to be referencing today. I actually have a sponsee that's going through step 1 right now, and so I wanted to make this video as something that he can reference. And so I'm going to be reading out of the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Also out of this Celebrate Recovery workbook called Stepping Out of Denial and Into God's Grace. And I got all my stuff here, you guys. I'm also going to be referencing the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book. Okay, so step 1 is we admitted we were powerless over drugs and alcohol, or alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. So when I say this step, I put drugs and alcohol because I am an alcoholic and a drug addict. Only you're probably going, okay, Nicole, well, how do I diagnose myself? Okay, you are the only person that can diagnose whether you're an addict or an alcoholic. For me, the way I came to the conclusion that I'm an addict and an alcoholic was I really had to get honest with myself, and I had to admit and look at my behaviors around alcohol. For me, when I don't have drugs, I will reach for alcohol to change the way I feel. When I don't have pills, if I have alcohol, I will drink to get drunk. I will drink to check out and not be present. And that's how I know that I am an alcoholic and an addict. There's some addicts that aren't alcoholics, but there are a lot of addicts who might not be alcoholics, but they just choose to abstain from alcohol because they know that it could lower their inhibitions and they might pick up while drinking. So they just choose not to drink. But I'm going to read a little bit out of the big book, and maybe this can help you to diagnose whether you're an alcoholic or an addict. So,
Mommy?
Yeah, buddy?
Me and Ashlyn are using our imagination.
Good.
Oh no, they're gifts. Pew, pew, pew.
Okay, so I'm going to read from this chapter 3 in the big book called More About Alcoholism. Okay? Most of us had been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it is not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, we will control and enjoy our drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. Okay? So, it says right here that the great obsession for every abnormal drinker. And so, for the longest time, I just considered myself a party girl, you know? But when I take alcohol into my body, I react differently than a normal person does. A lot of my friends will get drunk and they'll have a couple shots and they're like, ooh, that's enough, you know? But when I take alcohol into my body, I feel that warm feeling going down and I'm like, yeah. It's almost like I know it's fixing to go down. I know it's fixing to feel good, you know? And for the longest time, I thought, okay, well, I'm just drinking because I like to have fun, right? And a lot of us might not go down that quickly. Maybe we're addicts and we never lost our jobs because of alcoholism. Maybe we never wrecked our vehicles because of alcoholism. Maybe we never got a DWI, you guys. But that doesn't mean that we're not alcoholic. Just because negative consequences haven't came into play doesn't mean that we're not alcoholic. If we're drinking to fill a void, if we're drinking to change the way we feel because we don't want to feel that way, you might be an alcoholic. You might be an alcoholic if when you take the first drink, you cannot control what you drink afterward. You might be an alcoholic. We've learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery. So, the first step in recovery is fully conceding to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. So, this is for my addicts out there who are going, well, Nicole, I'm not an alcoholic. Alcohol has never done anything to me. I want you to think, if you didn't have your drug of choice, if you didn't have heroin or pain pills or Xanax or crack cocaine, and you had nothing but alcohol, would you drink yourself into oblivion? Be honest. Because most of us would. The only fee for membership in AA is the desire to stop drinking. But the first step, we have to concede to our innermost selves that we're alcoholics and addicts. This is the first step in recovery. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently maybe, has to be smashed. We alcoholics are men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking. We know that no real alcoholic ever recovers control. So, this is kind of touching back on what I was talking about earlier about whether we're recovered or not. It says right here, we alcoholics are men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking. Okay, so when we take the first drink, we lose control. We take drink. Or when we pop the first pill, we lose control. We just got pop more. It's the phenomenon of craving that turns on inside of our brain. It's that mental obsession. You might, and here's the thing, you guys, you might have days where you can take one drink and be fine. But what will happen is you might do that a couple times, and then eventually shit will hit the fan. That's how it happens. That's how the disease of addiction is cunning, baffling, and powerful, because it'll let you slip by and you'll be okay. But then it'll let you get another time in there. Oh yeah, I can handle this. And that's when it comes in and kicks your ass. We know that no real alcoholic ever recovers control. All of us felt at times that we were regaining control, but such intervals, usually brief, were inevitably followed by still less control, which led in time to pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. We are convinced to a man that alcoholics of our type are in the grip of a progressive illness. Okay, so here it's called an illness. A progressive illness. It gets worse, never better. So we can't hit rewind, you guys, on our addiction. We can't hit rewind and go, oh well, you know, I was shooting dope and slinging crack, and now I'm going to go back to just. It's not like that. It only gets worse. The more you feed your addiction, and the more that you take place in active addiction, using drinking, the worse it gets. I cannot tell you how, yes I can. I can tell you how my illness progressed. It started out as just a weekend warrior kind of thing. I would go out with my girlfriends, I would party, we would go to the club, we would dance the night away, and I would get drunk as a motherfucking skunk. I would get shit-faced, okay? I would shut the club down. Alright, and then I'd go to school during the week. Oh, it's all good. It's just a weekend warrior. Well, then you know what happened? Then I was like, I can't do school. It's just too much. And I quit college. I hate when lip gloss gets in the corners of my mouth. Anyways, then I quit college. And then it went from a weekend warrior to all week long. And then I started shooting dope. Then I started snorting dope. Or snorting dope, then I started shooting dope. It just all of a sudden got worse and worse and worse. But it started out as weekend warrior style. We are like men who have lost their legs. They never grow new ones. So once the disease of addiction and alcoholism is awoken inside of us, once we take the first drink or drug and we realize that we're an addict, because see, here's the thing. If you never use a substance, drink, or a drug, and you're an addict, you'll never know, because it will that phenomenon of craving will never be set off. The only way you know if you're an addict or an alcoholic is if you used drugs and alcohol and you have these reactions. You break out in handcuffs and felonies. Over any considerable period, we get worse, never better. Neither does there appear to be any kind of treatment which will make alcoholics of our kind like other men. So there's no way to like reverse addiction in our brains. Like once you have it, you have it. And the only thing you can do is not drink and use drugs. That's how you keep your addiction in remission, is by not picking up and doing your fucking work. Going to therapy, getting a sponsor, doing some steps, talking to other people that are in recovery, sharing your experience, strength, and hope, praying and meditating. These are all tools that we use that help us cope with the disease. Because that disease, you guys, it is powerful. And it's going to come on and it's going to tell you, just one more time. Just one more time, Johnny. Let's go. We just got to, just for old time's sake. I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how many times I have relapsed because I thought, oh, just one more time, you know, I'll just go out and have a, you know, good time, and then I won't come back. I won't do it again. And it's never like that. In some instances, there has been brief recovery, followed always by still a worse relapse. Physicians who are familiar with alcoholism agree there is no such thing as making a normal drinker out of an alcoholic. Science may one day accomplish this, but it hasn't been done so yet. Despite all we can say, many who are real alcoholics are not going to believe they are in that class. By every form of self-deception and experimentation, they will try to prove themselves exceptions to the rule, therefore non-alcoholic. Here are some of the methods we have tried. Okay, listen to this. Drinking beer only. Limiting the number of drinks. Never drinking alone. Okay, and also if you're an addict, you can say taking Xanax only. Only popping pain pills. Never taking pills alone. Taking pills in the morning. Only taking them at home. Never having them in the house. Never taking them before business hours. Drinking only at parties. So switching from Xanax to Klonopin. And these are all ways that we try to like manipulate to where we won't fuck up our lives. But we can never do it because we're addicts. We do not like to pronounce any individual as alcoholic, but you can quickly diagnose yourself. Okay, here's about the diagnoses. Step over to the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking. Try to drink and stop abruptly. Try it more than once. It will not take long for you to decide if you are honest with yourself about it. It may be worth a bad case of the jitters if you get a full knowledge of your condition. So go over there and get you some alcohol. Try to drink it and just stop. Try to drink for a couple days and then stop. You know, and I'm telling you guys, also it's the same thing with the addiction. Try to stop popping the pills. Try to put those pills away, give them to your mom or dad, and say, I'm not going to take these anymore. Okay? And then see what happens. You might be an addict. You might be an alcoholic. Though there is no way of proving it, we believe that early in our drinking careers, most of us could have stopped drinking. But the difficulty is that few alcoholics have enough desire to stop while there is yet time. So we don't want to stop in the early parts of our addiction or alcoholism because shit's not hitting the fan yet. Everything's cool. We still have our jobs. We still have our families. Our girlfriend still loves us. Our baby mama ain't mad. You know, life is still okay. The reason we want to stop in the end is because of the consequences that happen. It's because of all the rough shit that starts going down. We have heard of a few instances where people who showed definite signs of alcoholism were able to stop for a long period of time because of an overpowering desire to do so. Here is one. So this one guy, he was a spree drinker, and he wanted to quit because he needed to work his job. So he stopped drinking. And when he was 55, he was able to retire. And after 25 years of staying sober, he drank again at 55. And he was dead within 6 months because he was an alcoholic. And because the disease is that powerful, that after 25 years of being dry, not drinking, that he would pick back up right where he left off. And that's the disease. See, we can be dry. We can, not pick up pills, not pick up dope, and not drink, and just be dry and not working on our internal selves. And when we're not working on our internal selves, our addiction is inside of us working. And when we pick up, whenever it might be, if we're strong enough to do like this guy did because he had to work his job. See, there's some people that you can give them an ultimatum and they can actually follow through and stop. But eventually, there'll come a time where they let their guard down and they pick up again. And hopefully they'll make it back. Okay, this case contains a powerful lesson. Most of us have believed that if we remain sober for a long stretch, we could thereafter drink normally. But here is a man who at 55 years found he was just where he had left off at 30. See? We have seen through the truth demonstrated again and again. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Commencing to drink after a period of sobriety, we're in a short time as bad as ever. If we are planning to stop drinking, there must be no reservation of any kind, nor any lurking notion that someday we will be immune to alcohol. Same with addiction. We have to smash all the reservations, okay? We're never going to be able to use like we used to, you guys. We're never going to be able to take pills like we used to. There's no immunity to alcohol or addiction, alcoholism or addiction. When we pick up, it takes us back to right where we left off. Young people may be outraged. Young people may be encouraged by this man's experience to think that they can stop, as he did, on their own willpower. We doubt if many of them can do it, because none will really want to stop, and hardly one of them, because of the peculiar mental twist already acquired, will find he can win out. Several of our crowd, men of 30 or less, had been drinking only a few years, but they found themselves as helpless as those who had been drinking for 20 years. To be gravely affected, one does not necessarily have to drink a long time, nor take the quantities some of us have. This is particularly true of women. Potential female alcoholics often turn into the real thing and are gone beyond recall in a few years. Certain drinkers who would be greatly insulted if called alcoholics are astonished at their inability to stop. Okay, so as you can see, women are a lot more sensitive than men. And when we start drinking or using, we go off the rails a lot quickly, a lot faster than men. Because I don't know if it's because we're smaller or what, or our emotions. I think it has a lot to do with our emotional self, with our emotions, and how our emotions play a big role in how our decisions are. And so when we're drinking, I feel like we also drink to mask emotion. And I think a lot of men might not do that like we do. So, for those who are unable to drink moderately, the question is, how to stop? We are assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop. Whether such a person could quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not. Many of us felt that we had plenty of character. There was a tremendous urge to cease forever, yet we found it impossible. This is the baffling feature of alcoholism as we know it. This utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or wish. How then shall we help our readers determine, to their own satisfaction, whether they are one of us? The experiment of quitting for a period of time will be helpful, but we think we can render an even greater service to alcoholic sufferers, and perhaps to the medical field fraternity. So we shall describe some of the mental states that precede a relapse into drinking, for obviously this is the crux of the problem. What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? For friends who have reasoned with him after a spree which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy are mystified when he walks directly into a bar. Why does he do it? Of what is he thinking? Insanity is what it is. Our first example is a friend we shall call Jim. This man has a charming agency. He had a commendable World War record. He is a good salesman. Everybody likes Jim. He is an intelligent man, normal so far as we can see, except for his nervous disposition. He did no drinking until he was 35. In a few years, he became so violent when intoxicated that he had to be committed. On leaving the asylum... Okay, baby. Wear your jacket.
Put it on.
Where you at? Oh. What? Why are you hitting me?
Well, Ashlyn's being a mean thing. Go to my house. Go to my house. Go to my house every time when I play something.
Okay. She wants you to go to your house? Go play with her then.
To Ashlyn's house.
Okay. Go play at her house. Come back over when you're done, please. Stick together. Our first... Okay, so... On leaving the asylum, he came into contact with us. So, we told him what we knew of alcoholism and the answer we had found. He made a beginning. His family was reassembled, and he began to work as a salesman for the business he had lost through drinking. All went well for a time, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. Okay, so this is what I think happens to a lot of people when they get sober. They think, okay, I'm sober now. I'm going to start working. My life's going to get back together. I'm going to have my friends, my family. Everything's going great. So they start diving into things that they would do normally before they realized that they were alcoholic, like working 40 to 60 hours a week, going to church, just doing things that have nothing to do with staying sober. Okay. So he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. So this is the important part. This is what I keep on trying to explain to you guys about recovery. It's like when you get sober, quitting drugs and alcohol is the easy part. This part right here, building your spiritual life and connecting with a power greater than yourself, is the part that takes work. To his consternation, he found himself drunk half a dozen times in rapid succession. On each of these occasions, we worked with him, reviewing carefully what had happened. He agreed he was a real alcoholic in a serious condition. He knew he faced another trip to the asylum if he kept on. Moreover, he would lose his family for whom he had a deep affection. Yet he got drunk again. We asked him to tell us exactly what happened. This is his story. I came to work on Tuesday morning. I remember I felt irritated that I had to be a salesman for a concern I once owned. I had a few words with the boss, but nothing serious. Then I decided to drive into the country and see one of my prospects for a car. On the way, I felt hungry, so I stopped at a roadside place where they have a bar. I had no intention of drinking. So first thing is, he woke up in the morning, he was irritated. So we know that he was restless, irritable, and discontent when he woke up. So right then, what have I taught you guys? When we wake up in the morning, we have to give our will over. We have to turn our will over to a power greater than ourselves and ask that power to guide us in our recovery. And then also look out into the sky, look out your window, and think of all the things you have to be grateful for. Because a lot of the times when we're inside of our own selfish addict minds, we're already thinking of what we don't have and what we have been shorted, in life. So we have to pull that gratitude to the front of our minds and change that perspective on life right first thing in the morning and make that conscious effort about staying sober for the day. Okay, so he didn't have any intention of drinking. He just thought he would get a sandwich. I also had the notion that I might find a customer for a car at this place. So let me tell you what happened. So he orders a sandwich, right? And he eats it. Great. He thinks, oh, well, this milk is really good, but it would be even better if I had a little bit of whiskey in it. And the whiskey won't hurt me because I have a full stomach. So he orders some whiskey and pours it into his milk. And then the next thing you know, he orders another whiskey and milk. And then the next thing you know, he's drunk as a skunk. So, and it says, thus started one more journey to the asylum for Jim. Here was the threat of commitment, the loss of family and position, to say nothing of that intense mental and physical suffering which drinking always caused him. He had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic, yet all reasons for not drinking were easily pushed aside in favor of the foolish idea that he could take whiskey on a full stomach. Whatever the precise definition of the word may be, we call this plain insanity. How can such a lack of proportion of the ability to think straight be called anything else? You may think this is an extreme case. To us, it is not far-fetched, for this kind of thinking has been characteristic of every single one of us. We have sometimes reflected more than Jim did upon the consequences, but there was always a curious mental phenomenon that, parallel with our sound reasoning, there inevitably ran some insanely trivial excuse for taking the first drink. Our sound reasoning failed to hold us in check. The insane idea won out. Next day, we would ask ourselves in all earnestness and sincerity, how could it have happened? In some circumstances, we have gone out deliberately to get drunk, feeling ourselves justified by nervousness, anger, worry, depression, jealousy, or the like. But even in this type of beginning, we are obliged to admit that our justification for a spree was insanely insufficient in the light of what always happened. Yeah? Okay, we have to play the tape all the way through, and we have to stay away from that first drink. And when we're on those sprees, and if you're struggling and you're in active addiction right now, you don't have to remain like that, you guys. There's always help out there, and there's always help available. You just have to reach out. You have to let go of that pride and ego and reach out for help. The reason I read this to you guys is because I wanted to explain the first step, which is surrender and conceding to our innermost selves that we're addicts and alcoholics and that we need help and we cannot do this alone. If you think you might be an addict or an alcoholic and you're ready to surrender, you're taking the first step. And I just want to congratulate you on that. All right, you guys, I'll see you later. Bye.